Happy Wednesday after Thanksgiving. Oh, Halloween. See?
Halloween.
Halloween.
It's hump day, and if you watched the Astros last night,
Oh
they
my
totally
God.
sucked eggs. So yeah,
Tonight has to be better. Can't be any worse.
we're a
Good
little
Lord.
traumatized today.
Yes, so who had too much candy? Now we're rolling into the holidays. Before you know it, it'll be Thanksgiving and Christmas, and then it'll be the New Year. So we're going to have some really good shows lined up the next few weeks. We're actually all organized and got our topics up. So today we're talking about, why in the world do you really need a real estate agent? I mean, they're on every corner. They're all the same. All they really do is just open the door and let you in. I mean, God, what do y'all even really do?
So we're going to talk about that today. We have a lot to go over. And right now we're going to start with where we're sitting at the moment.
We are in the David Weekley model of the Highlands community off of 131499. You have heard us rave about this community because it is literally the latest and greatest thing to ever hit East Montgomery County. I personally love this home. It is the 55 and over community, and I want to buy one of these homes, but they won't let me because I'm not 55 yet.
Right.
Talked to Mike Holt really quick before I came in. They only have 2 inventory homes left out here in section number 1. So hurry. If you're 55, the golf course is open. Darla walked out like they're on the golf course.
So let's talk a little bit. What's the benefits of being in the 55 and over section of a community such as this?
You don't have to deal with little children.
Yeah.
So by the time you're 55, most of us, you don't want to be around little children. So it's over 55. You're going to have your own rec center out here just for them. He said that's going to be ready in about 2023.
Yeah.
The golf course is out here. A lot of these homes are on the golf course with the view out here. And you get all the amenities. There's not a 55 and over community in East Montgomery County or Northeast Houston. The closest one is over in the Woodlands off of 1488. That's a long way, super busy over there. It's the only thing in our local area.
So this is modeled a lot after the one that's over in Town Lake, which I've spent a whole lot of time in. And I will tell you, with that community, now that it is completely developed out, the section that they have over there has anything from regular David Weekley, Colwell homes and things like that over to some of the more elaborate custom homes by Yeager and another builder over there. So what that community has done over there is really unique in that they have formed their own little community with 55 and over people within that community. So they do a lot of things. During the holidays, they do trips. They do, like, the ladies will go off over to Round Top or something like that, and they'll take trips. They go gambling. They do a lot of different things because they all are kind of all in the same place together,
in
right?
life, yeah.
In life, and they make new friendships, and they spend a lot of time doing wine and cheese parties, and
that's all that matters.
Right, and it's really a unique thing to have if you're looking to be able to hang out in a community with a lot of amenities, golf.
They're like the same thing as you are. They're retirement. They're focusing on their retirement. So there's 2 builders out here, and I think Mike just said there's going to be a total of about 250 houses. So right now, phase 1 is about to be complete with about 35 houses. Phase 2 will open first quarter of 2023. So it gives you an opportunity, lots of lots to still choose from and pick your home out here.
What is David Weekley offering right now as far as incentives?
Big money, $20,000 incentives right now. So what that is mainly what people are using for closing costs now is to buy down that interest rate. So that can get that interest rate, where you would like it to be if you're not paying cash. A lot of people, when they come in at the 55, they are paying cash, which is wonderful. But if you're not, $20,000 goes a long way to do anything you want with it.
Right,
you can upgrade, you can do anything.
They're getting to the point where they're not limiting, so you can go over to the design center and use it towards the design center if you're not worried about the rate. A lot of people aren't worried about the rate because they know they can refinance
or if they're paying cash.
Or if they're paying cash. But so you can do a lot of different things with the money. It's just cash at the moment. So if you want to get in on the front of this, come over and see Mike or give one of us a call, and we'd be happy to kind of walk you through it and step with you. Judy just did a reel not too long ago on TikTok that talked about building a custom home. So there's a lot of ins and outs that go with that. I've got a David Weekley right now over in Cane Island. That's about an 8-month build out, and they're just now starting with the design center and things like that. There's a lot that goes into it right from the beginning, and then as you start coasting along, you really do kind of want some representations. We're going to talk a little bit today about what you get with that representation and why you need it.
And why you need it, whether you're building custom or a brand new construction from dirt or not, is there's no way in the world humans are making these homes. There are going to be mistakes made, period. And we're going to start with, we love all of our builder sales representatives, but they work for that builder. They don't work for you. So when trouble comes along, you've got to have somebody. You're battling by yourself.
Yeah, well, when your
because if you don't
expectations aren't met, it's a little easier to have a
it seems so
intermediary
easy
there.
when we're going into it. You think it's so simple, but there's a lot going on behind the scenes, and kind of what we were talking about. Just as you are a parent, you're a mom or dad. Things go on in the household. We've got to budget things. Somebody's sick, or we got to coordinate things. Kids don't know the stress that mom and dad have because they're not supposed to know, right? So when you have a real estate agent, when you have a good real estate agent, there's a lot going on behind the scenes that you don't know, because it's our job to manage that business transaction and not make it personal, to make it as easy as stress-free. And we're handling, on a daily basis, we're handling things. I got a whole issue this morning, we're not even gonna go there, that I'm like, what? And you handle things without even the client knowing, and that's why the transaction's supposed to be smooth, and they're not involved until they really, really have to be. Right. So let's go into, Darla had on here about, we would love for everybody to have the dream of home ownership. And I know that can be a scary process. And starting off right, like Darla said, what do most people do? You have pillow talk, and you talk to your other side.
Right.
And I don't know, you just think, and you wake up the next morning, what you do?
Right.
You're online.
Yeah, you talk about, hey, I think we're ready. Let's look at this. We see a lot of homes going up, especially out in our area.
Yep.
We've talked about this before. We have so much building and so many developments going on. It's hard for even us to keep up with it all the time. I mean, we go over to the East Montgomery County Chamber meetings all the time, and there's always something brewing that's coming up. Whether it's businesses or commercial coming up, or new communities that are coming in. And so it's even hard for us to try to keep up with all of it, but we do. And so what you decide to do is you look and you're like, you talk to your spouse, your significant other, your family, you're like, you know what, I think I want to try to start searching for a home. The first thing that you typically do is you'll get on the computer and you start going to Zillow, Realtor, Homes.com, and you start looking in for what's in your area.
And what's pretty. You're going to click on what's pretty to you. What are you looking for? The first thing you do is click. And that is mistake number one.
So that little for more information button, that is actually a lead generator for agents. Okay, it is not getting you to the seller or the agent of that home. It's getting its lead generation. So when you push that button, now you're going to be blown up on your phone with either real estate agents, several of them, because you're passed off to more than one at a time. It's whoever gets to you first. And then it's going to be mortgage, it's lenders, and then it's going to be home insurance people, it's going to be car insurance people. They sell your information off. So really where you need to take a step back and think, kind of the way I look at it is if you're going into a legal situation.
If the IRS has sent you a letter in the mail with big orange letters, what are you going to do? Are you just going to handle that yourself?
Right. Or if you're hit with a lawsuit,
ignore it.
If you're hit with a lawsuit, or you need to take somebody to court,
Keith, thanks for joining.
What exactly would you do? Would you just say, okay, let me get online and let me research it myself and let me see I can figure this out? What is it? Just paperwork?
They really don't do much at the IRS.
Right. So
I
you're
can go up against them by myself.
So you're gonna hire someone that you feel like that's professional, that you're confident that's going to be able to help you get where you want to be with what you want to be. And the same thing with a surgeon. You go to the doctor, you find out there's something wrong and that you need to do surgery. Do you just chalk it up to chance and say, okay, I'll show up at the hospital and whoever's there that day is going to do the surgery on me? No, you're going to take time, do some research, talk to people, find out who the professionals are, find out.
Have you done this before?
How many times? You're going to look and see and ask, hopefully. My parents didn't always, but you're going to ask a bunch of questions and try to make sure that who you are having represent you or do work on you is somebody that you feel confident in and that you feel qualified in order to do that. We, as experienced, I'm going to keep saying it, experienced real estate agents, we know what all of the things that go into buying a new home, buying a resale home, building a home, buying an investment property,
land,
commercial, land, lake property, whatever. An experienced realtor is going to have that experience that you're looking for and that knowledge to say, okay, I really don't know what I'm doing, talk to me. And they're going to give you information, because I know for Judy and I, the whole reason we started this, because we feel like out in our area and across Houston, we've got so many people that are now able to buy homes, and they're buying homes for their first time, and they really don't know where to start with it. So if you want to start on the computer, that's not really the best place to start. You need to hire an agent, and that's what we're going to talk about doing today.
Well, just know that anybody, doesn't matter, you know this, we're going to Disney, our family is the first week of December, and you just say Disney really quiet in your house, and all of a sudden the Disney ads start popping up on Facebook. That's really creepy. You've got to know, if you go online and enter your information for anything, Disney, or you're looking for a watch or whatever, people are going to contact you. So if you don't want people to contact you, don't enter that information.
Well, and it's not only that, but if it's, to me, if you want to do that, that's one thing.
But just know you're going to get inundated by it, not by one people. And then what happens is, when you have your pillow talk and you say, hey, I think let's talk about it, that doesn't necessarily mean tomorrow morning when you wake up you're buying a house. You're just getting your brain wrapped around what do we do?
And we don't discourage you from looking.
No.
Obviously, we want you looking, seeing what's out there, because the more knowledgeable you are, when you do come to us and say, hey, this is what we're looking at doing, this is what I'm seeing, or talk to me about the market, we're going to be able to confirm what you're already seeing. It happened a lot during the pandemic. People would call me, first-time home buyers, and they're like, yeah, we've been watching for a couple of months. These things are kind of sliding out really quick. And we're like, yeah, so that helps me help you go, okay, here's our game plan right from the beginning. This is all the things that we need to get in order. So by the time you decide you find houses that you like, we are on the go. We're not waiting.
If you're not ready today, that's okay. You still need to talk to us, because what happens is when you go online, you fill it out, and you fill it out once, you fill it out twice. We get leads in one day from 2 or 3 different lead generations with the same person. So they're clicking, then they won't answer your phone call or your text or your email.
Right, because you're getting inundated. You don't know who to talk to.
And you're aggravated because you're like, I don't really want to talk to anybody right now.
I was just kicking tires. I'm just looking.
Then reply and say, I'm just looking. But the key is answer the phone and talk to one of us. Talk to a spirit. And then we're going to slow you down and explain the process. But if you continue to click on the pretty house that you think is pretty, which is what you're doing, and you want to look at the pictures, somebody is going to call. Numerous people, not somebody, are going to call you. Then you get frustrated and shut down. So don't shut down. Reply and say, thank you very much, I'm not ready yet. And that helps us, again, like Darla said, help us help you. And starting with that time frame. So we kind of have an agenda here. You don't want to be annoyed about that. Let me get to page number 2. Stop pushing the buttons and hire an excellent real estate agent first. So Darla, why hire a realtor? And what do you mean by hire a realtor? The first question, just get it off the table, is how much is that going to cost me?
That's always the first question after, you know.
It should be.
Right. And there's a couple of different things behind this. So if you're the buyer and you are going out looking at homes, and we're talking about closing costs and things like that, the fees that are normally paid for to the agents are paid on by the seller, and I'll explain that in just a minute. So as a buyer, those fees are not yours. There are fees, but they're the
So representation of the realtor is no cost to you. So let me just say this. If you were going to go to a CPA, or you're going to go to your doctor, or you're going to go to a lawyer's office, if it was free to you to do those things, would you or would you not hire the absolute best person? Or would you hire your friend that maybe you need to, they need help, they're brand new in the business. Or would you hire the best surgeon to do plastic surgery on you, on your lips, or whatever you want to do? Or are you going to hire your friend or somebody that you don't know? If it's free, I'm getting the best of the best.
Right. And you have to think about it this way: is you need, I don't know what questions to ask. That's what a lot of people tell me. I don't really know what to ask. And so, you know, we can kind of go over with you what makes a good real estate agent, because believe me, we've come up against some really good ones, and we've come up against some really bad ones.
What it is you
and we
don't
all
know
start somewhere.
What a really good one is until you have a bad experience.
Right. You don't know what you don't know.
Exactly. You don't.
Right. So while the cost is not on your side of the closing document,
as a buyer,
it is on the seller side. However, what you do in the very beginning, any good realtor is going to have you sign a buyer's rep agreement, and they're going to have you sign what's called an information about brokerage services. What those 2 documents do, and why you want to sign them, is because it's a protection for you. Some people look at that and they go, I don't want to sign any contract that's going to lock me into an agent. What if I don't like her? Well, the thing is, what happens if you don't sign it and your representation is not quite what you expected? You don't have any contract between you and that agent that you're working with that says what their role is versus what your role is, and that's what that buyer's representation does. It's not anything more than we want to make sure you understand what our role to you as a client is, okay?
And let me just, I'm the direct one. It's a two-way street. I might not want to work with you.
Right. And it is. It's an interview process.
It's
Absolutely.
an interview process, and kind of what I do on my buyer's rep is I don't make you sign it on the first or before I go out with you. I want to get to know you. I might not want to work with you because I'm sorry, they're difficult people, very difficult people. I just put an offer on 2 pieces of property that I want to buy, a strong offer, and I got difficult sellers over there. I'm just saying. So it's an interview process, and kind of the way I say it is we've house hunted all day at the end of the day. Do you feel like you would like me to be your real estate agent?
Are we a good fit?
Are we a good fit for it? If so, here's our temporary marriage certificate. We've been dating all day today, and if you still want to date me tomorrow, which means I'm going to get in my car and drive all over the state of Texas to show you houses, I need to know that you're committed to me and I'm committed to you. So what that buyer's representation and that initial agreement between the buyer and seller is, yes, I agree to work with you exclusively. That means when I drive by a sign, I see something on Facebook, my friend tells me that, you're going to not call another agent and not do that. You're going to call me because why? I can show you any home on the market. When you click the agent of the listing, they represent the seller. Can they represent you? Yes.
They can if the brokerage allows it.
They can if they allow it. But when you have your own representation, we know everything about you. You don't have to retell your story of your finances, your personal stuff, and you're this. We learn you within the first day. I can tell really quick that's not going to work. What the questions we're going to ask you is your job. Where are you located? I work downtown. Well,
why do you want to live 75 miles outside of Houston? Right?
What are your school districts are important with you? What type of church do you want to go to? Do you like to be rural, or do you want to be around a bunch of people in your community? Just all of those things
and the
matter.
other thing that you have to think about when you're talking about what we call dual representation, as Judy's talking about, is we have a confidentiality agreement in that buyer's rep, okay? And what that says is I am not allowed to tell the seller or the seller's agent anything about your circumstances, because number one, it's going to unleverage you from a good negotiating position, so I don't want to do that. And the good thing is Judy and I have both taken, and we are qualified negotiation experts, certified, and what that means is we have been taught how to negotiate. And negotiate isn't always about the price.
There's a
whole lot of that goes into it, and we know how to read people. That's why she and I are such good friends together for so many years.
That's what I say.
Right? But we know what questions to ask.
Yeah, seriously.
We know how to ask the questions. We know how to approach things. And then we know that when things go wrong, we know how to keep things on the table. Because a lot of times there's emotions that are drawn into it.
I was just about to say that.
A lot of times people are upset because either, let's say that the one thing that we're seeing a lot more of is contingencies on offers. And when your home doesn't sell, and now you're pushing out the closing, and the seller has got their own home that they've put a contingency on, the whole thing is a domino effect, and it gets ugly really, really quick. And what we as agents do, our job is we keep calm, we protect you, we work with the agent on how to make sure everything's working together. And believe me, when things get really high and emotions get really high, the agents can sometimes get really emotional too.
Yes, if you've got the agent on the other side, and and I'll say this, sometimes I have pissed off my own client. Well, you work for me. Yes, I do work for you. That's why I'm explaining the legally binding contract that you're in. You may not like this, but this is the deadline. This is that. And we don't, we're the business part of it. We don't have emotions. If it's your house and you fell in love with it when you were walking into it and something's busting up, or you live there and your kids have grown up there, you're very emotional about it. And we take that emotion out and make it a business transaction for the buyer and the seller. So it's a great deal for both people, and that's our job. And there's a lot going on with that. No one thinks they need a realtor until something goes wrong. And like I said, you don't know what you don't know. I literally this morning, we're not even going to go into it again, like the past few weeks, I get a call from my best title person in the whole world, Michelle Langdon. She's like, we got a problem. And I was on the phone doing this for 20 minutes. And I'm like, what is this? And so we're working these things out together. Did have to get client involved. But long story short is we've been doing this collectively together over 25 years with thousands of clients. Right. And the misconception that, these realtors, so I'm going to say it, these realtors make a lot of money and they just open the doors. Well,
and that's not.
Let me say this. I make good money. So does Darla, but I'm a good value for that. There are 80% of numbers that are out there statistically of agents who don't make the money that I make because they don't have the value that I make. They're not full-time. They don't have the education. They don't have the experience. They don't do their job well. Just like there are people that work at Exxon and people that work at Starbucks that you're like, how do they still work here?
Right.
Okay, I don't mean that ugly, but there are people that are not qualified that do that, and they're overpaid.
Well,
but I'm underpaid,
right.
and I'll sit here on this whole Facebook thing and tell you right now that we do a lot of work. And
right. There's a
lot
lot involved with a transaction. One of the things that I was going to talk about, we'll get into buying boldly here in just a minute. One of the things that that I think we want to express and make sure that you understand is, as an agent, there's a lot that goes into not only preparing a home for selling, but also preparing a buyer. Because the last thing that we want to happen, the biggest thing that we do not want to see happen is a transaction not close.
A busted deal. Who
Why?
wants to start over?
Because Judy and I care about our clients, and I think from the very beginning, the reason that we got into this is because we wanted to be able to see people be able to attain the American dream of home ownership. Not every country allows you to do that. Not every country encourages you to do that, and not every country allows its people to be able to do that. The United States does, and it's a very welcoming experience to be able to become
own something.
Well, but to become part of someone's life, because that's literally what we're doing
Well,
for the
it's the
first
biggest transaction.
45 to 60 days. We are
We're your
involved with
realtor wife.
you.
We're your
Right.
realtor wife, and no matter what house price point you're at, it's your largest asset.
Right.
And know that we are and we kind of learned this in some training over the summer, that we're becoming your financial advisor. We're not Schwab by any means, but you're making a large investment. And Courtney had a client that's picking between two houses, and she was trying to tell them, if you're trying to resell that in 2 years, this area is not a good resale area.
Right.
But the house was new and pretty and shiny.
Right.
But this house over here, and it's our job to educate you. It's your job to make the decision.
Right.
But you want to educate it. And one thing to know on these transactions, no matter if we're on the buyer side or the seller side, if we're your agent, we're controlling the transaction. So we're the agent. We've got an agent on the other side. We've got our client. We've got a home inspector. We've got an appraiser. We've got a lender. We've got a surveyor. We've got a title company. So this many people, minimum, on each transaction, that we're trying to keep all the cats herded.
Not to mention
and
if
the deal
mom and dad
smoothing.
step in, or
oh God,
sister,
please don't bring
or
your
aunt
mother.
or uncle.
Don't do that.
Okay?
Don't do that.
So let's talk about buying boldly, because I think what we're going to do is talk a little bit about as a buyer's rep, hiring a buyer's rep. Now, do I need to hire a buyer's rep? Yes, you are hiring us. You are hiring us to represent you. The dollar amount may be zero to you, but someone is paying that fee, and what they're paying for is to make sure that I and Judy make sure you get to the closing table. That's the whole purpose in it.
Within your budget and means,
Right.
and to throw in there, everybody on the planet knows the difference in the market between June and November is significantly flipped. A light switch flip. So if your agent doesn't know that on a buyer or a seller's side, you've got a big problem, because if you're trying to buy or sell today is significantly different than 6 months ago. Total tables turned.
Yep. So let's talk. We're going to talk about buying boldly, I like to call it. So when you hire a buyer's agent, our job, a good realtor's job as a buyer's agent, is to make sure that when our job starts the minute that we talk to you. We're going to ask you questions. We're going to ask you some things that maybe seem a little personal to you, but what we're trying to do is make sure, who do we get them to if they're not pre-qualified? Can we start now? Does it sound like something, or are we on a 6-month wait because we've got to wait for jobs, or we have to wait for a certain dollar amount for them to save for their
Kids get out of school.
Kids get out of school. So we're asking a whole bunch of questions. That's where our job starts. If you've got somebody that you've clicked a button on and that agent says, yes, I'll show up over there at 9 o'clock in the morning for you, that's hard. That's not good. Okay, so starting with that, with the buyer's rep.
So to interrupt her, why would I jump in a car in 5 minutes, go take and show your house in Katy, when you have no intention to buy until your kid's out of school in November and June?
Or you don't plan on talking to a lender at all and know that
you don't even know how much you can qualify. You don't even know what the monthly payment is.
Home, right. So
okay.
we're going to ask you a whole lot of questions. So buying boldly entails starting from the very beginning, from the first phone call or the first referral meet, or however we get in touch with you, right? The next thing that we're going to do is, when we start helping you search for properties, we're going to ask you a whole lot of questions about what you're looking for. We're going to ask you things like where you work, What kind of schools are you looking for your kids? What kind of neighborhood do you want to live in? What kind of amenities do you want?
And what she's
kind of
talking
lifestyle?
about are needs and wants. So
Right.
we have things that aren't negotiable, like I must have an office. I work at home 24/7. I must have an office. Don't show me anything without an office. Or
Right.
a pool would be super nice. It's not a deal killer, but I'd like to have. You know,
Right.
there's a just that pros
So,
and cons list that we need to know that we're on the same page.
Right. So when we start that little list, there's a ton of questions that go into that. Now, we do the best that we can with that list based on what's available in the market. And contrary to popular belief right now, our new listings are down at the moment. So we have a lot of active listings that are sitting there, but we have a lot of people, not a sellers, not putting their homes on the market again. So our inventory has kicked up, but it's stalling right now. So that's one thing to think about. So buying boldly, the next thing that we're going to talk about is once you go out and you start looking at those homes, a qualified, experienced, knowledgeable agent that has sat and listened to you as a client. We've heard you, and we've not only heard what you've said, but what you have not said. So a good one is a good listener. They're listening to that, and they're understanding what you're looking for and what things, when you send us listings that you want to see, we're going back through all of those and going, that really isn't going to meet what they told me.
You said you had to have an office, and there's not even a bedroom that you can convert to an office.
Right. So we're gonna ask some questions about that, and then when we're gonna walk the property, we're gonna look at things on our own eyes, and we're looking and saying, okay, based on the loan that we're getting, maybe, or based on your financial situation, we're looking at this home going, is this a really good fit for them? And then when we get ready to talk about it with you, we're going to go over some things that you may not see, because what happens, buyers walk in with what I call HGTV eyes, and maybe they see, something that I'm seeing, and maybe I see some things that they're not seeing. So we want to make sure that we are being very upfront with you about sellers' disclosures, about things that we see in the home. I mean,
and you can say, hey, you walk in and you're tilting a little bit. I'm like,
right.
I feel like there's foundation
sometimes
issues here.
They've done a really decent job. I say decent.
Lipstick on a pig is what we call it.
They've done a really decent job of hiding maybe some flooding work or something in the home. And, we're going to make sure if we see that, we're going to start looking behind the scenes and going, okay, what's going on with this house?
And like you said, our job is to give you the knowledge. Yeah. It's your decision. If you want to buy the house that has this issue, that issue, we just want to make sure because maybe you're a contractor. You're like, oh, that don't bother me. I can do this myself. It's
because
all about
every buyer is different.
knowledge.
Some buyers are super handy, and some people love garden work, and some people are like, oh, that's just paint. I don't care if it's orange in the living room, because they know they can paint it, right? And other times we have to help walk clients through those things and say, okay, well, let's envision it a little bit differently. How much would it cost me to paint that room, change it from orange to gray? And we can talk about things like that. And then we'll talk about adding value. We'll talk about the neighborhood. We'll talk about whether or not this particular area is seeing growth, or whether we're seeing, I'll even talk to people about, okay, when we walk out of here and I'm like, okay, what'd you think about the home? Well, I really don't think it's for us. And then I'd be like, what did you notice about the neighborhood? Well, there was a lot of cars parked in the street.
Oh, I hate that.
Right? And so what we're doing is we're listening to you, and we're like, okay,
taking notes.
They are paying attention to certain things. So let's talk about what makes that neighborhood be like that. And then the next neighborhood, we can pull it out and say, okay, this home may not have everything, check boxed off, but think about the value, and here's what we're seeing here. So we talk about buying boldly, and that's exactly what we mean. It's everything from not only negotiating what offer you want to make on it and looking at the comps and the competition in there, but it's also helping you make a sound financial decision with that home, whether you're buying a resale home or whether you're buying new construction.
And no matter if you want to call it your home, your forever home, or you're only going to be here a couple of years, that's a big thing we need to know. So if you are just going to be there temporarily, it's a stepping stone. A brand new neighborhood may not be best for you, because if they're continuing to build new construction in a neighborhood, maybe you don't want to buy there, because you're going to be competing against new construction, and that's never really any fun. Hey, Matt, thanks for joining us. But that's our job. There's so much more to put into about listening to you, and then we can tell you what we know, and you put it together, and you work together, like you said, with your realtor wife, that we find something that meets what your needs are in the area that you want, in the price point.
Real estate is absolutely one of the best investments.
Exactly. It is
I
an
am
investment.
not going to even kid you, because if you've watched anything with the stock market and real estate right now, guess which one is actually outspending and outturning the other one? Real estate, by far, has made the best return on investment
Ever.
over the past 2 or 3 years, especially the past 2 years.
Yep.
It's at its highest it's ever been. Home equity, I think I've put this out not too long ago. Across the United States, an average in the last 5 years, if you bought a home, your home equity has gone up at about $50,000 just in the past 5 years if you've bought.
Right.
So having a realtor that knows things like this and that you really partner with, that says, okay, this is an investment. Yes, it is your home, and it's going to be where you raise your families and you get married and you maybe you grow old together there, but it is an investment. So do you want to make the best investment decision, or do you just want to love it because it's got gray floors and gray carpet? Okay, we're going to help you see those things and think about it maybe in a bit of a different light. But at the end of the day, that decision is yours, and we totally respect that. And we are happy for you if that's the home that you love. So let's talk about selling successfully. So as a seller's agent, why do you hire a seller's agent?
Well, the same thing. Your house has to have the best presentation from start to finish to get all these bold buyers to want your house. So if your agent, I'm floored to this day, I can be searching for a house online for my buyer, and I click on those pictures and I'm like,
I know.
Oh
Floored.
my God, somebody just took a picture. It looked like I took it from their phone, and it's horrible in the lighting, and there's trash everywhere, and the bed's not made. That doesn't happen with my sellers. We do not go on the market until we are HGTV perfect, because you are judged by what your house looks like, what it looks like, what it smells like, and how it's maintained. And if you are not model home ready, the HGTV buyer eye people are going to judge you substantially. When they judge you, that costs you money. Okay,
Right.
My job as a listing agent,
fast
and hard,
for the most money. Right.
Fast and high. And we're not going to overprice. We're going to be realistic. And one of the things that I want to say, when you're choosing your agent, when you've hired an agent to buy or sell a home with you, or both, if you have made that decision, you need to then trust them. I'm not telling you to list your price at a house at a price that I think it's too much, that it's not going to sell. The days on the market do mail, because here's an honest statement: if we listed it higher, I'd make more money, and so would you. But I don't make any money if the sign's in the yard and nobody's in your house. So if we're not getting viewings, and we're not, if we don't catch them online first with our marketing, they're going to, remember I said buyers are looking at what's pretty. The first thing they click on is what is pretty. And then they click on, oh, that's too expensive, or that's this, or that's not my area. They're clicking because it's pretty. So we're going to make it pretty. Then that's our presentation. Then we're going to price it right. And then when they come to our house, we expect offers, because what they see is even better in person than what they saw online.
We as agents are going to, at DRG, Judy has been adamant from day one. What you see online is what you're going to see when you walk in that home. There is, I mean, I don't know how many times we walked into a house with clients, and we're like, they'll look at me and they're like, this is not what it looked like online.
And you can't smell things online either, but you can smell them when you walk in the house. So that the seller's responsibility, there's only one time to make a first impression. So we thought we were pretty online, because that's why we first clicked them. We come there, we can control it. But what also affects that price and that seller is what our neighbors look like, because we can be perfect, and then next door we're like, what is going on over here? Right. And we can't control that. So that's going to affect our pricing, and that's where you have to listen and trust your agent.
Right.
And that personality, not everybody's personalities click. Right. So you want someone that's like-minded and experienced, and we're going to go into a little bit.
But you want trust, mainly above everything, so that
straight shooters. I mean, that's just me. I'm not a car salesman. I don't like people follow me around and doing that kind of thing. But everybody has their own style. Right. Okay. So if you're interviewing agents on either side, you're going to see a different style, and you want somebody that, matches your style and your person, and how they're going to communicate with you. And so we'll go into that.
Let's get into that. So how do you pick a realtor? So here's a little known fact, because I know you guys aren't really into researching this. This is our job. This is what we do. The NAR, National Association of Realtors, of which Judy and I are both credited members, there's an estimate that there are 2 million real estate agents across the United States. Only about half of those are actually members of the National Association of Realtors. Now, why is that a big deal? We're held to standards. Okay. Once we sign up and we become knowledgeable in ethics and contract negotiations and things like that, we're held to that standard. So being a NAR member, being a NAR Platinum member, those are all important things. You don't necessarily need to know about it except in the very first conversations. All
we
right?
get more benefits and more tools to use to help service you as your clients with that higher level.
Here's the thing that I want you to kind of put in your
Hey,
head.
Cheryl.
Put in your head
She's
today.
our friend.
So think about having 2 million real estate agents across the United States of America. On average, most agents only close 4 transactions a year. Now,
you may look at that. I think lower.
Well, but we're talking across the United States, okay?
Yeah.
So when you look at that, what affects that? A lot of that is, are you a part-time or a full-time agent? Do you do this for a living?
We're going to know that that's a no, because you can't survive and eat.
Right.
If you're full-time.
What that usually means is we've got people that have primary jobs that are filling this with a secondary income.
It's
so
just
what
like
happens?
A little bonus for them.
Right. So what happens is you're like, oh well, this is easy. I can do this on the side, and they're not really in the marketplace constantly. Like they have a primary job. They're either teachers or they're oil and gas working in the oil and gas business or technology or something like that, and they need a little extra income. Or we have got a mom that's a stay-at-home mom,
right,
and she's looking at doing a second job, and nothing to negate any of that at all. But if you're not closing transactions, you're not in the heartbeat of what's going on in real estate.
And the shift that happens overnight, you don't know what's going on a daily basis.
They don't negotiate as well, and is better for you because that's not really what their main thing is. And so closing 4 transactions a year, that may have been easy, but I guarantee you they have not been exposed to the things that we've been exposed to and we've had to negotiate off of, as you do when you're closing 30 and 40 and 50 transactions a year,
because honestly, the only way to get the knowledge is by closing transactions.
Right.
Because after 13 years this morning, when I get off of this video, I'm gonna be like, I gotta do something that I've never done before. I've got to learn something new today on a title issue that has, even my title company was like, oh man, So my point is that is how you learn, is by closing transactions.
Right. So we're going to talk about experience. How many homes have you closed in the past year?
That's your question number 1.
That's question number 1. Number 2, are you a full-time or a part-time agent? There are some part-time agents that do they do a certain number of closings and they've done enough or they've been around it. But a full-time agent is definitely going to be able to provide you with a lot more experience than someone that's only closing a few transactions a year. It may be your niece or your nephew or your uncle or your cousin's brother, somebody that you know and that you trust. But again, how often have they actually gotten into the business? Can they afford, Judy, to spend the money to market your home properly and put it on the MLS so it's pretty? People walk in there and it looks like it's supposed to. They've made the expectations about how the transaction's going to take place. They've called the lender. They've done all these different things to make sure that you, as a seller, that buyer's going to close, right? And as a buyer,
also on a buyer's
you're going to know what's going on.
Say the absolute, you're looking for a unicorn, because that's what everybody's looking for, is a unicorn house, and it comes up on the market today, right now, and you pick up the phone and call. Your person is working at their full-time job at Exxon, and they can't show you till Saturday. Guess where that house is going to be? Not there for you.
Right.
And so we have a team that, maybe I'm doing this real talk right now, but the behind-the-scenes girls are able to schedule appointments for our team and agents. We don't make our buyers wait, because you can't. Do we have personal things we do? Yes. Do we take vacations? Yes. Do we have other clients besides you? Yes. You're not our only client. You can't wait on us, and we don't expect you to. But if you're doing with a onesie agent that is only their self and they do it part-time, you're working on their schedule. We work on yours.
Exactly.
Yep.
Exactly. So what does hiring me get you? It gets you representation. It gets you confidentiality. It gets you experience. It gets you knowledge. It gets you looking at things as more of an investment versus
a business decision.
A business decision. We can help talk you off the ledge. I don't know how many times I've been with buyers and they're freaking out because they've got things that the lender's asking for.
It's a lot.
Or they've got to move and now the closing's been rescheduled and the apartment's not letting them stay there any longer, or the house that they're selling, those people have closed and they need to move in, but yet they can't move into theirs yet.
It's a moving target.
It is. And a good agent is going to be able to negotiate all those things for you. So the next thing is, are they going to ask you to sign a buyer's rep or an IMBS? Are you comfortable doing that? when you walk out of the meeting with us, and if we've asked you, hey, here's what this is, here's what we'd like you to sign, this is what it means. If you have any hesitation at all, I don't want you signing it, because I want you to understand that I'm working for you, and I want you to feel confident to know that we're going to be buying boldly or selling successfully, right? Right. If you're selling, what measures will you be taking to get me the most exposure? Because that is absolutely number one, top of the list. Because if people are not looking at your home, we're not going to get offers, and we're
not going to come see you if they don't think you're
without
pretty.
offers. You can't sell your home. So when I first got in this business, it was very much like it is today. We have a normal market where homes are sitting on the market a little bit more. We've got interest rates that are higher, but yes, believe me, that did exist 10, 13 years ago.
They act like it was in the dinosaur days when it happened. It was like 3 years ago.
Right. So, we're making sure that those things are all on task. So how do you handle negotiations? That is a big
You have to think outside of the box. Is the money the biggest factor? Yes. But
If
I have two things going right now that money's big. I'm not gonna lie, but you know what's bigger? Their ability to have a lease back my seller after they close, because they have a gap and they have an illness, they have a baby on the way, they have different things, and they need the money from the transaction to be able to go to the next house and pack and build, or there's a gap that they don't want to take their kids out of school the last 2 weeks of school, so I want to close, because you always want to close as fast as possible so that nothing happens, but I need to stay here for another couple of weeks. So that close date is a big deal. The flexibility of that, or I gotta sell, the buyer has to sell their house to buy another one. Some sellers aren't gonna entertain that. So we have that on the table right now, and I had to explain to my seller, why is that okay? Most people have to sell their house to buy another one. That's normal, but it will affect them, and explain that process of what happens if their house busts.
Well, and I think the biggest thing we talk about communication is big, because our job, honestly, is to manage your expectation. We want to make sure that you know from the very beginning how the process works. And when things come up, I had a title commitment come over at, 7 or 8 o'clock last night, and I called my client, and I'm like, I see about 6 things on this list that I don't think are yours. And I started listing them off. And of course they weren't theirs. And she's like, oh my gosh, what do we do now? Did the buyer's agent, is she seeing that? Are they going to be freaking out thinking that we owe all this money? And I'm like, no, we're going to go over to the title company. We know what to do with it. We're going to go over there, send an email out immediately and say, hey, I need you to handle this.
Because if your name is John Smith, you've got to roll on it.
If it's Hernandez or Fernandez or Morales or something like that, it's going to be kind of crazy. So
remaining calm behind it. The next thing we get a lot, because I'm a team leader of the Hayes team, and a lot of people ask having a team, Judy, am I going to get to talk to you or you're going to pass me off? The answer to that is no. If you are going to deal with all of us, let me just say that. So we have a staff behind the scenes I do that handles administrative stuff. Anything that my clients are doing, contract negotiation, anything in and out, title commitments that we need to know, you're absolutely only going to be talking to me. Will you speak with another agent, not unless I'm on vacation or something, but my staff, yes. But it's going to be like, hey, we're bringing some more flyers over to your house for the open house. Hey, did you do you have any questions about this weekend, or
we're going to hold open houses, and we've got other agents that we are going to do that for you.
So anything substantial contract related, you are always going to talk to an agent. We do have staff for a reason. So like I said, if I'm at Disney in 3 weeks, yes, you may talk to Darla, because I'm with Mickey. And she knows everything about. So our behind the scenes systems are phenomenal. At any time as the broker, I can click on any transaction, know what's going on with all of my agents. I am behind as any agent. When I'm gone, they can see my stuff as well, so that you never skip a beat and you don't feel or know that I'm at Disney. And that's a streamlined process that we work together as a team.
So think about that when you're hiring your agent, because if you need to talk to the person that you've been face to face with the entire time, and you're under an assumption that you've made a phone call to this really huge brokerage or this really huge team because they advertise on TV and
the radio,
you see everything out there, and you're like, okay, this must be awesome. You think you're going to meet with that person. The next thing you know, you've got somebody showing up. You don't know their name. They're representing them. And then when they get done talking to you, then they pass you off to the next person. And then when the contract comes through, they pass you off to the next person. That is because they close a whole lot of deals. I'm not going to lie. They can't do it all. But if that's the kind of personality that you need to be able to sit and talk to the person that you met with, and that's the only negotiation that you want going on, that's something to consider when you're sitting down and talking to that agent. So remember that. So does the agent's personality match with your expectations? Exactly what I just said. So if you want to make sure that you can get a hold of that agent at 9 o'clock at night when you're panicked because a pipe burst or your dishwasher busted and you don't know what are we going to do? The whole thing's going to fall apart. If you want to make sure that that agent's going to call you back in an emergency, you better make sure that that agent's going to be able to do that for you.
Because some of their voicemails say, I return calls between 9 and 5, and if it is on Friday afternoon, I'll call you on Monday.
If offers are received after 5 p.m.
on Friday,
we will get back to you on the next business day, which if it's a holiday weekend, that could be Tuesday.
Lord,
right?
I don't know who made up that rule, but you know,
that's not how.
I don't
that's
want to
not
sit
how
here
we
and
work.
tell you that I'm going to call you at 11 o'clock at night
No,
because
we don't
I'm
do
not.
that.
But there's time frames and there's a time and a place for everything. If something's urgent's going on, we're going to get it taken care of. We're a little bit over time today, so we're going to speed. We're a lot over time today. We're going to speed it up.
It's a lot to talk
It's
about.
a lot.
We have a lot of information. We always do.
Talk a lot.
We talk a lot.
Number one, your buyer's representation is at no cost to the buyer, period. FREE. That's the main thing we want to get. So again, if you are going to go to, something is free and you want to go to the Louis Vuitton store, you're going to pick the most expensive purse or the less expensive. Do you want to shop at Louis Vuitton when you've got a free purse to buy, or do you want to go to Walmart? Okay? We're the Louis Vuitton of real estate. We are not the Walmart.
Well, I think what we've talked about is, do you want it cheap? You have options. You have 3 options basically when you hire an agent. No matter if you're selling successfully or buying boldly, you have 3 choices. You can either be cheap, fast, or good. If you're going to be cheap, you're not going to be fast and good. If you're going to be fast, it's not going to be cheap, and it's probably not going to be good. If you want it to be good, it is not going to be fast, and it is not going to be cheap. So you think about that when you've got people and you're listening to things and they're going around talking about all these, you don't have to list for a certain amount of fees or something like that. It is the same. Get what you pay for. You just remember that. And we want to make sure our job is to be the very best for you.
Yep.
And that is what, to me, is most important to most of our clients.
And it's the
At
same
the end
thought.
of the day, they thought they wanted cheap, but they really wanted good.
So our takeaway today is hiring an agent should be done with serious thought and intentional purpose. I love that sentence, Darla. Darla writes all of our
Thank you,
our transcripts or whatever. The fee you pay is the experience that you want, and it's the value that you're going to get. And that's in any industry, period. So
Absolutely.
with the largest asset you have, why aren't you hiring the most experienced and the most value to you? Period. That's the simple question. The fee is again what you're going to be paying for. You're going to get what you pay for, people. That's it. Help us help you buy boldly and sell successfully.
Yep.
We have a new listing of the week. Congratulations to Courtney. It is in actually Darla's neighborhood, which is Woodridge Forest off of North Park. It is 22703 Adrift Row, and it is a beauty. It's got a pool. It's listed for $549.
This neighborhood is about 3 to 4 years old. You don't know it's there. It is literally tucked away.
Behind the big church, the Catholic church.
Yes, behind
right?
the Catholic church. They're off North Park. So it's across from, it's not part of Kingwood. Actually, when you're going down North Park, the right-hand side is Kingwood, and past that is Kingwood. We actually sit in Montgomery County.
To the left. So you go over the railroad tracks, down just a little, and is it the first red light? Yes.
After the railroad tracks?
Yes,
No, you gotta go way down.
A little bit. Where the big Catholic church is to the left down there. But congratulations to Courtney. It's a really, really good listing.
It's a pool. It's got 4 bedrooms.
Yep, 4 bedrooms, 3 baths with
3
pool.
baths.
Huge lots, like almost a 17,000 square foot
it's
lot.
like, if I remember right, it's like a pie lot, like a pie-shaped lot. So this neighborhood, since I live there, I know, it has everything from, I think, Century is putting up brand new homes over there. If you're interested in any of that, give me a call. They're right behind me. And then they've got amenities. They have a pool. They have walking trails. I run over there all the time. I know she doesn't run. They have an activity center that you can rent out. There is an elementary school in the neighborhood, which is phenomenal. They were all the kids were out walking around on Halloween night. It was really neat. They have a whole section of townhomes over there, which is where I am. It's in a little corner over there. They have everything from first-time home buyers, smaller type of homes, all the way up to $600,000 and $700,000 homes in this
And
little
it's at
bitty
the front,
community.
so you don't have to go all the way from. A lot of people, you know, again, we were talking about looking at the homes in the back of Kingwood. That's in Kingwood. Oh, that's a lot of traffic coming in and out. So you're at the front. There's actually a sneaky way out the back side that you don't have to go on.
Our taxes are relatively low. Our homeowners insurance is under $800 a year, and it's like I said, it's tucked away over there. You wouldn't really know it's there.
Right.
It really
Kroger's there, HEB's across the street now. North Park is a great area. So sorry we took so long today. God, we talked a lot.
Next week we're going to be sitting down and talking title with Kathy Heinrich over at First American Title. We love sitting down and talking to Kathy. She is an absolute wealth of information, but I think what we're going to do,
she teaches us how to do a lot of stuff.
She teaches us how to do a lot of things we don't have time to research. I can always call her and say, hey, how do I do this? And she can get right back to me. We love it. So we're going to be talking the title commitment next week. So the title commitment is a portion of...
Maybe we can use my new problem as an example.
Right? The title commitment is that thing that the seller is paying for the buyer, that's going to deliver to them all the exceptions on the title policy. We'll talk about what that is, what those exceptions are, what you look at when you get it. A lot of agents don't even know what that thing is or how to look at it.
It's all legally.
It's all legal, but when you're talking about rural properties that have gas pipeline easements, they've got mineral rights, they've got heirs, they've got all kinds of things in there, liens on the property and probate and divorce decrees. All of that stuff pops up in the title commitment, so we're going to talk a little bit about what that means and why it's important.
Are we going to stop talking now? Yeah. Because we're 30 minutes over. I'm supposed to be at the chamber meeting. I'm going to miss the chamber luncheon.
Yeah, she'll be fine. She doesn't like it. She doesn't like their food.
I know. Oh, what? No. All right.
Bye, y'all.
Everybody.
Have a great week.